President Trump starting the new year as the front runner for the next GOP presidential nomination with just over 10 months to go until the next race for the White House officially kicks off. A new Reuters Ipsos poll shows 54% of Republicans say they would back Trump in 2024. 11% say they would support Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. 8% say they would support Vice President Mike Pence. Lee, your thoughts on this? We've got some midterms to get to before, but what do you think?
Got a long way to go. So if you think back to 2015 and 2016, during those primaries, at this point, Jeb Bush was leading by double digits. There were moments where we saw Walker leading at the same time. So I wouldn't put a whole lot of weight on this poll, but what I would say is, there's a lot of people who are dismissive of President Trump and a lot of people who say, he is has been terrible for the party. He's been terrible for the country. He's still very, very popular. And Americans need to remember on the other side of the aisle that about half of America voted for this man. And he's not likely to go anywhere, and neither are his politics. But I wouldn't, again, put too much weight on this poll at this point.
Ken, what do you think?
So I always like to follow the independent poll, the swing, vote, so to speak. Of course, Republicans are going to, by majority, going to want Trump back, and Democrats, of course, going to hate for him to come back. I always like to see the independent numbers because that's really the swing, and that's what kind of swung him out of office the first time. May swing him back in office. We saw the swing vote come up really huge in Virginia and all that in the 2021 election. So, again, it is early, as Lee said. There's a long runway before we get there. A lot of things can change. A lot of names can come and go. I do think he'll probably ride the leadership of the Republican Party. But again, I'd love to see how the independents are swinging along with everything that's been happening in real time.
Right. I think that going into the midterms, Lee, before we go, the Republicans will be looking closely at Virginia and the victory of Glenn Youngkin and the Republicans and Winsome Sears and the like, and what worked there, because it was, yeah, and whether it was schools, whether it was, well, I think schools it was one of the biggest things, but it was also a focus on inflation and repealing the repealing the grocery tax in Virginia. It was a real kind of nuts and bolts campaign.